Welcome back
to the Not So Perfect podcast. My name is Matt Chin, and this always is
Gerardo Cornejo. We survived the Capital City Run.
The Capital City Race, the third annual, took place 2 weeks ago, and another whopping success.
Very successful. Thank you guys for watching our podcast. Preparing to that, we kind of wanted to surprise everybody with what we've been working on, and it was just so successful. It was such a beautiful morning. And thank you for the feedback on people that actually watched. Shout out to my mother-in-law. It was the first ever podcast she's ever listened to watch. So
that's awesome. Yeah,
we got to step our game up now.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too,
my mother-in-law's watching.
I don't know how old your mother-in-law is, but she's probably closer to my mom's age than they are to our age. But my mom started watching it too, and the most recent one we dropped, and she's like, that was really well done. Like, how long have you guys been doing that? She didn't know anything about it. And I was like, well, we've just been kind of tinkering, and I think we finally got a more polished product than what we started with.
Yeah, so, and training together also helped.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, I tell people a lot, like, there's a lot that goes into a podcast in terms of keeping the flow going, not stepping on top of each other, not, talking at the same time. So you kind of got to feel that out amongst each of us, like, when's a good time to step in, when's he kind of be more kind of a long-winded. So you just got to learn things. But
yeah, we experimented a little bit, and you guys can hear us loud and clear.
Yeah, we got the mics all dialed in. But yeah, so welcome back. Welcome back.
Welcome back. We wanted to recap on the race. Tell us all about it, where your stress levels are at now.
Stress levels are back to an optimal range. They're not overloaded or redlining, as we like to say sometimes. But yeah, man, the race, I'll just start from this. Like year one, day one, whenever I was sitting at High Rise Bakery, shout out High Rise Bakery, sponsor for the race as well as the Grand Cafe. But yeah, whenever I was sitting at High Rise, like Googling how to start a nonprofit race where it all kind of began, this year was like what I pictured year one to be, so.
It wasn't like that the first time?
No. Nope. There were some hiccups and some curveballs and some U-turns along the way, but we have since kind of cleaned things up. And again, our goal, we're not perfect. We understand that. As much as I wanted to be perfect my first year, my second year, my third year, whatever, that's just not how the world works. So we try and do the best we can, try and have all of our ducks in a row, double check, triple check, quadruple check, and just make sure we're as clear and as transparent as possible with all the different agencies we work with, whether it be the fire department, the Jeff City Police Department, all of our volunteers, our sponsors.
It was great to see them out there.
So that's a big thing. So this year we kind of, this was like a home run in my opinion. We had more registrants this year. We had 346 total registrants, which is about 50 more than last year.
Thank you to 346 runners out there.
We raised more money this year than we did last year. I don't have the actual numbers yet. I still got the last of the checks that we had to send out for invoices and stuff like that with like the Chip Timing Company and some additional T-shirts we had to get because we ran out. So I'll have that update whenever I have those numbers for you. But hopefully by the end of this week we'll have an idea of how much money we raised on top of the number of participants and all that. So like I said, this was the year where it feels like everything that I was hoping this race could be. I feel like this is the first year we've finally got all those pieces finally together, in terms of who do we talk to about this, or who do we know in this area that we need to get approval from. So a lot of work going into it. But again, the day of and after the fact is what it's all about, It's just,
and it was wonderful seeing all you guys like at a no stress level, like the community just came together. I heard some volunteers showed up at 3:30. Oh my God, the volunteers did phenomenal.
Yeah, well, I tell everybody, like, this is every aspect of this race in terms of, the community help and outreach we get are all volunteers. Nobody takes a dollar, nobody takes a dime, and that's the way I want it to be, So even the people in my small circle, that kind of have a bigger hand in the planning process, we don't take a dollar. It might be a cup of coffee or two along the way on some roundtable meetings we have on Saturdays or Sundays or, during the week when we have those meetings. But yeah, I'm really proud to say that, everybody that helps out with this race, we do it free of charge. It's just to try and get that message, which is kicking the stigma on mental health, not being afraid, not being shy, or, if there's a problem but you don't exactly know where to go with it, there's resources available to you as well. So again, that's the goal of the race, and that's kind of what we're trying to do in this town. And hopefully, since I was announcing this year, I got to see a lot of the different people that were coming across the finish line, where they're from, how old they are, what race they did, and man, I was flabbergasted just at the
You were
amount of
calling out cities. You were all over Missouri.
The amount of out-of-towners, like we had some Texas ones, we had some Oregon ones, we had one from Maine. I know we had one from Tennessee. I mean, so that fills my heart, man. That's, because again, obviously I want to affect our community, but I want those reaches to go further and further each year. So I think hopefully we're on the right track.
And if there's any way to work on your mental health, run.
Yeah.
Go out for a run.
So I was watching.
It's the reminder of just one step at a time. It's just the next step. Like the most important part of running is just the next step.
Yeah.
Don't give up. Don't slow down. It's just the next step, and then you go, and then it was awesome.
Yeah. Well, the weather was great. I mean, it was like a kind of a crisp,
Thank
cool,
you, Jared, for the great killer weather.
55, 60 degrees at race time, which is ideal for a race of really any magnitude, let alone distance. So, we couldn't ask for a better day. So, Jared, like I say, year 1, year 2, and year 3, Jared, he knows what weekend this race is every year, and he makes sure he's looking down on us smiling.
He knows we're raising the bar.
Yeah.
No, and it was cool. Like 2 weeks prior to the race, there was only like 100 something applicants.
So
runners.
The last 14, we'll just say 14 days, we had over 100 registrants. So I mean, we were like sitting at 197 2 weeks up to the race. So, kind of preparing myself mentally. Well, it might be less than what it was last year or the year before that, but I was like, the message is still the message.
And Jacob, my son, recruited 2 runners last minute, Harrison and Brooks.
That's awesome.
3 9-year-olds ran the whole 5K.
Yeah.
So they were excited about the medals and getting a shout out on the numbers and starting him that early, letting him know what the event was about.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people don't know, or they don't understand what exactly that means. What is mental health? They don't, especially the younger kids, they, what's mental health issue to them probably isn't as extensive as what it might be for an adult, but the earlier we can kind of educate people on what this is and things to notice and things to look out for, it kind of gives you warning signs, before it gets to be a real problem. So,
because now growing up as a father, years of being a father, like when I was growing up, I thought my parents had it all figured out.
Yeah,
they just made us. They made money. They took us places. They loved each other. No, nothing wrong with their brains. Nothing wrong mentally.
They're perfect, right?
They were perfect.
They were perfect. Mine were too. That's weird.
Here I was like, no, kids, I have the least bit from perfect. And here we are in the summer school, and my wife's in charge of all the kids. But we both have to show up mentally for each other.
Yeah, it's not just a one-way street, whether it be, well, we got to do this for the kids. It's like, well, we got to do this for the kids, for your spouse, for your loved ones. Everybody's included in the mix. Nobody gets left out. So that's definitely an important thing. But so I mean, I think one of the big things this year, just some of the feedback I've gotten from just some of the people that were at the race, either during, pre, post, or during the race, a lot of the feedback is that everybody really appreciated the medals this year, where everybody got one.
Yeah.
Kids especially, because every kid loves a medal.
I'm one of those kids.
Yeah, but I mean, it's one of those things where, in the years past, we'd give medals out to the top placers of each gender and age group for the 5K, the 10K, and the half marathon, but we wouldn't give medals to every single person that crossed the finish line for the 5K and the 10K, just the top 3 of the gender and age group. And everyone from the half marathon would get a medal because that's just a very challenging thing to do regardless of how fast you're doing it. It's more of a long distance mental education process is what I like to call it. But this year what we did was we had everybody gets medals, and then we still gave out the top 3 awards to each age group and gender, and then we had some overall winners.
You already gave those out?
Well, so they were supposed to be in the box of medals, and they were not. So
I was not in the top 3?
They're mailing us the placer clips now, so those will be getting mailed out. So anyone watching that participated and placed in their age group and their gender, Those are coming. I just haven't got them in the mail yet.
I know a couple 40-year-olds didn't show up this year. Ryan Freeman.
Yeah.
So I know that moved me up one.
That's right. Well, and plus you had you were pushing the baby stroller.
Yep.
And what you guys probably didn't notice is I caught him stuffing 45-pound plates in the front and the back.
The ruck vest was under
So
my Capital City Run shirt.
Regardless of, him just pushing his daughter, weighing, 40 pounds, something like that.
I got to carry the boats.
He had an extra 90 that you couldn't see, so, and he still
/ water bottle / speaker.
He still managed to kill it. So
a hangry 4-year-old go right after the Riverside Hill, which everybody remembers the Riverside Hill.
It's a big one.
We made that turn. She's like, Daddy, yes, dear, I'm hungry. So I apologize, I couldn't feed her at a time, but it's just motivation. I gotta get her food.
The sooner it gets to the finish line, the sooner they can get to High Rise Bakery.
That's not even mile one. Is that even mile one?
That turnaround's right at the mile. Yeah, it's a little over a mile. Little over a mile. So yeah, she almost made it halfway.
It's a tradition with me and my daughter. So it was a blast.
Yeah.
It was good, and everybody supported each other running.
Yeah.
Huge shout out to the police department.
Yes, they did.
The firemen at the finish line. The flag.
Dude, how awesome was that flag?
The fire truck with the flag.
How awesome was that flag?
It was different. It was a different day this year.
Yeah. So the neat thing that we finally got this year that I've been working on the last 2 years, but had to jump through some hoops to get it figured out, but I think we did this year, and hopefully moving on, is that we were able to get the fire department to come up, start setting up about 6:30, and they were able to drape the American flag, this huge American flag from their ladder, and they were able to position it right over the start-finish line. And it was, I had goosebumps the entire time. It was just riveting how it all came together.
Yes.
So they got that set up, and then we did the national anthem at 6:55. Went off great. Shout out to Jim Marshall, Coach Jim Marshall. He was our speaker this year, and he's a longtime track and cross-country coach in the Jeff City Public Schools, and then he's also coached at Westminster College and some other places in his tenure. But his story is terrific. It's I got to meet Jim whenever I was first getting into personal training at Wilson's Fitness, and I didn't know his story until I started working with him. And his son passed away from some substance abuse issues and some mental health issues as well. And he lost his son way too soon for any father or mother of that.
What age was this?
He was he was out of high school, so I think it was around, he was in college.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of what Jim does now. He's he's still got he'll never lose that running itch that he's got, whether it be knowledge or education or just partaking in running himself. But his message now is more along the lines of his son's story, and just how he deals with it, kind of what we're doing here, just kind of talking about issues we have problems with and how we handle them and healthy ways to do it and, less healthy ways of going about things like that. But he kept it short, he kept it sweet, but it was very powerful.
Yes, it was.
So shout out Coach Jim Marshall. I appreciate you so much for doing so.
Yeah, going back and thinking about processing that is you want your children at least to communicate. You think they're telling you things.
Yeah.
But you never know. What's, not to get off the race topic, but what's a good way to check in with someone? Well,
and that's kind of what I was thinking about that while we were talking just a few minutes ago is, we talked about us growing up and how we looked at our parents and just how things were back then. How much education did you get or did we get on your mental health?
Nothing.
All I was ever told was, you don't talk about sensitive stuff, you don't talk about your emotions, you just push them down and just bury them and don't ever,
I had to learn the periodic table.
Yeah.
Nothing about mental health.
Nothing about it, yeah. Yeah, so it's one of those things where, if we can start incorporating that into kids at a younger age so they kind of have, kind of indicators of if something is going wrong or if something's kind of doesn't seem like it should be, they have tools, or at least they know they can go to mommy and daddy and they're not afraid to tell dad that they're, getting bullied at school or they're, having a hard time with this or that or whatever it might be. But I think the more that, parents and families can communicate that stuff and it's okay to talk about it. It's not something that we got to be hush-hush or behind closed doors or can't talk about it in public. It's the better it's going to be for that next generation coming up, So, again, things that, had I known this stuff, whenever I was a kid, where would my life have gone? Probably a different route, but You just don't know. But I feel like the more we can kind of educate the youth that are coming up, and it doesn't have to be just kids, but high school kids and college kids and even young adults.
We're all human beings.
Yeah, I mean, we're all flawed, and we're all, we've all got issues in different areas of our life. But, the good news is that as much of the times that we think that we're alone in this process, we're not, and I felt that way most of my, young adult life, trying to figure out what was wrong with me in terms of, my alcoholism, because I didn't fit in the standard traditional box of what an alcoholic was. So, if I don't fit in that box, what box do I fit in? But it wasn't until I got treatment, went to rehab, and got into AA, and just active in my sobriety and just living.
Whoa, you too. Whoa.
Yeah,
I'm not that bad.
I remember the first AA meeting I went to was up in Boonville, just down the road from our rehab facility. And I mean, you're walking into the building, you hear people laughing and having a good time, and like, there's no way this is the right place. And then you walk in and there's 40 people in there.
Yeah, because I think it'd be like boot camp style.
Yeah.
Like, don't drink, put that down.
Yeah, I'm expecting, fire and brimstone, Old Testament
Major
type
pain
stuff.
showing up.
Yeah. And, found out right away, like, wow, like all these people in here are sober and have stayed sober for years or, decades or however long it's been, and they find joy in things. Like, how is that even a thing? But it is. And, I found out right away that I was where I needed to be in that moment, but again, taking that first step towards that door, or taking that first step towards rehab, or taking that first step to, sitting down at the round table with your parents and saying, I got something wrong with me and I don't know what, I don't know what to do. I don't know who to turn, like, I don't know where to go. Because if I hadn't made any of those steps, whether it be sitting down with my parents at the kitchen table whenever they basically told me that I have two choices of getting help, or we're cutting you off. You're not going to see you're not going to see us. You're not going to see your brother, your nephews. Like, we're not going to sit around and wait for that phone call that you're dead, or you've killed somebody, or you got in an accident and injured yourself and hurt somebody else. And all that stuff was super scary. Like, you don't know.
And I'm realizing now, you bring your parents up, like me as a parent, like there's so many other things going on in our heads. Bills, calendars, emotions, and you forget to check in on your kids, because I thought my parents had it all figured out. But if there's a hack or anything, the thing that's worked for me with my kids is, hey, were you nice to everybody today? Not how was your day, what'd you do at school, because that answer is just blah right through the ears.
Yeah.
Hey, were you nice to everybody today? Was everybody nice to you? Did anybody get bullied? Then they start opening up, and then, oh, well, I did see this. And then you know that kid's parent, so then you can kind of like start fixing the bullying problem, and who needs help, who's not getting enough love at home, who needs more extra attention, because I think that's what it boils down to with kids. Us dealing it, we just got done with 6th grade and 2nd grade. Next year I'll have a pre-K, so that's the realm that I'm in now, and realizing how much some of these kids, it's tough to give, not that you forget about your kids, but they do need so much more attention.
Yeah.
And the small little questions are asking just different questions to get their brain. Matt, were you nice to everybody today? Was everybody nice to you today, Matt?
Yeah.
Like, no, Gerard was an asshole to me. He freaking didn't show up to the podcast and made me lose 2 hours of my day. But at least it opens up the conversation. We get to go somewhere with them.
Well, and let's just say, take that instance you just brought up, okay? Mm-hmm. We're at a point in our relationship where we communicate.
Yeah.
And communication is such an important part of this conversation we're having now, is because, we think of kids like, oh, what does a kid got to worry about? All they got to do is wake up, go to school, and eat lunch.
Play.
And go to recess. Like, we feel like they don't have any other issues greater than those top 3 things: waking up, getting in the car, getting to school, eating your lunch, going to recess, like hanging out with your friends. Like, wow, what do they have to worry about? Meanwhile, Dad, I got to do, the grass, I got to do these sales, I got to do these invoices, I got to do this and that and this and that. So it is easy for that to get caught up in ourselves a little bit more than, hey, 3 o'clock, I got to put the phone down for a little bit, or maybe I got to pick the phone up, talk to the kids while Stacy's picking them up from school. Hey, how's school? How's everything? And again, it's just making that a priority, and it's all about, we find, I know for myself, like, my accomplishments come from making certain things priorities. You know, if I don't take my sobriety, make it a priority, I'm not going to maintain that. You know, I might be able to white knuckle it for a month, 6 months, a year, but if I'm not practicing these principles and I'm just kind of walking through, just, you know, checking boxes without being deliberate and present, you lose the drive and the purpose behind it. So for me,
and I want to thank you too. I got to cut you off because I want to thank you for being the example. That's the hardest part in leadership. You know, you put on this race, you stick to your word, you know what your principles are. I work with Matt daily. Well, we're in the same building daily, but I see you putting in the out. You're the first one here. You're the last one to leave.
Sometimes Heather gets me
every
on
day.
The, on
Heather
last,
is a rock
Heather gets
star.
me on the last one out if I have like an early.
I'm here at least by
day.
8. But summertime, I don't have to drop the kids off. But if there's anybody that has gone through it all, a lot, not all, but all, and still sticking to their principles, I think that's just an important part of life. Like Matt, you do stick to your principles. Thank you for putting on this race. Thank you for still contributing to mental health because of how important it is and what you went through.
Yeah.
And now you see angles that how you could have helped your parents, what they were doing wrong. They didn't have it all figured out. They weren't perfect.
Yeah.
That means we're not going to be perfect.
Right. Well, and the other thing too is like just talking from that leadership standpoint, because I don't know, I've watched a couple things and read a couple things the last probably couple weeks just on, you know, leadership. You know, and specifically there was that one on, there's a documentary that came out on the Liver King. You remember the Liver King?
Yeah.
He, you know, and it was basically like that, whatever Netflix does, like an untold of the Liver King or whatever. So that just came out and I was watching it, and just how, you know, at first it seemed like he was, you know, he had everything figured out and he was this leader of men and, you know, how to do
he
this.
Looks scary to me.
That, you know, and then come to find out, you pull the curtain back a little bit and there's deception, there's not, you know, there's not honesty, and there's, you know, just subtleties that he would use that wouldn't really fully uncover like what he's doing. So it's like, man, all I got to do is eat this and take these vitamins and I'm going to look like you and work out like you and I'll look like you. It's
My
like
beard will get that big.
And he's making everybody feel like that's the case, but also at the same time, it comes to find out that he's also taking some performance enhancing supplements. Now, as an adult, I feel like if you want to take performance enhancing supplements, go right on ahead. You're an adult. You make your own decisions. It's not affecting anybody else besides you. You do whatever you want. But if you're going to let everybody know that, yeah, I'm doing, you know, if you're not going to give them the full picture on what you're doing day in and day out, and whether that be, you know, if he would have just came out in the beginning and say, yeah, I'm, you know, 45 years old, my testosterone's low, I'm supplementing with this in a healthy manner under a doctor's supervision. I'm not bro sciencing this stuff from my buddy at the local YMCA or the local gym, you know, where you get your stuff. But, you know, and that's kind of where I'm circling back to with that leadership aspect is, you know, what you just said about me, Gerardo, being a leader, you know, I don't claim to have all the answers and I don't claim to be perfect. You know, that's the reason we started this podcast. But at the same time, all I tell everybody is that I just try and do the next right thing. And, you know, nowadays I live by a lot stronger moral compass than I did before I got sober. You know, whenever I was drinking, I would not hold myself to the same accountability I would other people, you know, or it would be good for thee, not for me. And you can't live an honest life that way, you know. So I still make mistakes daily. I still make errors, you know, in the race planning process. I made mistakes this year that I'm hopefully going to remedy so it runs a little bit smoother next year. Now, these aren't all things that every participant's going to see. A lot of it's behind the curtain or behind closed door type stuff, just in the planning process. You know, but the biggest thing that helps me day in and day out is, okay, this is what we did today. Where did I lack? Where could I do better? Where can I clean some things up? And you have to be honest about it. Like if I look at every day of my journal, you know, if I flip back 3 weeks ago, yep, I did everything perfect that day. Yeah, that was a perfect day. Okay. Well, and every day I kind of just check boxes without being honest about how much effort I put in. Or you remember you were distracted on this with this client because you got a text message that, you know, you really didn't need to look at or reply to, but you did during the hour and it took your mind out of being present in the moment. And that's not fair to my clients. They're paying the money to get my full attention. So again, it's just being honest with yourself about what your goals are, what your dreams are, where you're looking to go, and how do you get there, you know? And And then throughout that process, there's going to be times where you fall,
Yeah.
you pick yourself up, you learn from what you did when you fell, and you try not to do that again, or you try and do better the next time. You know?
And I think now I just had a incredible point of view. Now that I've just turned 42, I think in my brain is just keep it simple.
Yeah.
Now I'm in 42. There's not much else I want to think about or overthinking. You know, like this weekend, Stacy had to back up a trailer. You know, and just watching her overthink it. It's like I like doing those things because that's all I get to think about. Not think about anything else.
Being present in the moment.
And so putting her in that position, it was just hilarious. Sorry, Stacy, but it was because it's just it's working on bringing her, dialing it in to where she could just like be present, and then just you have it better than yesterday.
Yeah.
Keep it simple. Be better than yesterday.
Yeah.
You're not gonna have the perfect day is surviving.
Yeah.
You're like, look at the things we run over. I saw a dead snake. I think about all like I killed a bunny cutting grass. I was like, that's not a perfect day. You know, that's the best of day. He won't be better than yesterday.
Yeah. Well, depending on who's watching or who witnessed it, it might be even worse.
But keeping it simple is it's a very difficult thing to say. But us as in leadership, as we want to be high performers, or that's who our mentors are. You know, the high performers. Is the less things to think about, the better. The smaller the circle. Dana White, huge. His diet, he tried everything. He's a billionaire trying everything. And Gary Brecka was the one that changed his life. And it just back to the basics.
Yeah.
Simple food. Simple. Don't eat a gallon of sugar every day or drink a gallon of sugar every day.
Well, and again, simplicity is that's.
So that's the word I'm looking for.
Simplicity is an easy way to go about getting yourself better every day. You know, if you're overthinking every single decision in your day, you're wasting so much time spending it overthinking on things as opposed to just keeping the next thing. You know, and if your day in and day out is just chaotic, where you're busy from 6 a.m. all the way until 6 p.m. and you just got appointments and meetings and you got to drive here and you got to go pick up the kids and you got to do this and you got to do that. You know, if you're getting to work at 6 a.m. and you're starting your day and you're already thinking about what you got to be doing at 6 p.m., just close your circle. Keep it from 1 hour to the next hour, and then the next hour to the next hour, or one appointment to the next appointment to the following appointment, you know? And as you go through your day, all right, just finished up appointment 3, now I got to go meet a guy up at lunch for a business meeting, okay? So one of those things about, you know, when you have a plan like that is when you're looking at the entire picture of your day, you know, there's a lot of stuff on that calendar, okay? But whenever you close it down to, okay, this is my hour that I'm currently in, this is what I got. Then the next hour, and then the next hour. And again, just keeping it simple, worrying about one appointment, the next appointment at a time, and not focusing on the 5th appointment you have at 4 o'clock when it's 6 a.m. or 8 o'clock.
Present. And simplicity, again, doesn't mean don't do the hard things.
Do the hard
things.
things.
Do the hard things and keep them simple.
Yeah, because when you do hard things, that's where you grow. You know, and I know I've said it on this podcast.
It's so scary. It's so scary.
It is scary, but that's when you find out your true potential. You know, if you've never ran 5 miles and you run 5.1 miles, that's going to be a huge accomplishment for you. Something that you've never done before.
Yeah.
That your brain's going to tell you, man, our record's 5. If we do 5.1, like it could go sideways real quick. We could, you know, it could be catastrophic. Well, maybe, or it could be awesome. You know,
and the
or
goal,
that sense of accomplishment after you're done, when the whole time you're doing that 5.1 miles, your brain's telling you, we better tone it down a little bit. We better slow it up. Ooh, we got a big hill coming up. We got to really, you know, if you listen to your brain all the time as opposed to just shutting up and just getting after
that brain, it gets in the way.
So I saw a quick clip I think it was yesterday, of our good friend that doesn't know us, Cameron Haynes.
Okay.
He was on a podcast with Joe Rogan. It was one of his early podcasts when Joe was kind of unpacking what Cam Haynes really is. Like, is this real? Is this he just putting on a facade or a facade or anything like, or a facade? I'm sorry, facade. And you know, he says, so what's your weekly routine like? He says, well, I work out every day, run, lift, and I shoot my bow. He says, every day. Yeah. Not what about like holidays? He's like, every day. And Joe's like, even like, what about Sundays? You got a rest day in there? You know, sometimes I hear it's good to get a rest day. He's like, Look, I don't know how else to say this to you, Joe, but I feel rest days are for pussies, and that's kind of where he went with that. But his point was, he's like, lifting weights, you get some music going, maybe you're working out with a couple buddies, you can enjoy that. You can make fun, have a good hour workout if you're around the right people, or you got some music that you really love to hear, just something that's going to be externally motivating you, He's like, and then he talks about shooting his bow, and he just loves shooting his bow. That's fun for him. That's like, you picking up a basketball, go shooting some hoops. You just enjoy doing it. He said, but running, man, he goes, nobody likes running. Nobody. He said, so that's the thing. Like, everybody's starting out hating this thing that we're about to go do. But when you do it and you get done, everybody always says, like, gosh, I wish I loved running like you. I don't love running. What I love is the challenge and how I feel once I've accomplished that run. Because there's no point where I'm like, I am so glad I'm here right now, ever.
And the cool thing about running that I finally discovered now is just finish.
Yeah.
It's not about the time. It's not about PR.
Well, it's not about you beating me or me beating you.
It's about finishing.
It's about crossing the finish line. It's you against you, because you're your own worst critic when you're running. Any distance, any length, any time frame, like, your brain is going to be telling you that you are an idiot and this is a terrible idea and you should just stop every step you're going to take. So it's just that mental, and again, that's how you callous that mindset. Whenever I first got into doing longer distance running stuff, every day I'd go out would be, okay, well, yesterday I did 6, so I'm going to do more than 6. So I'd run out 3.5 miles, and then guess what? Even if I was tired and didn't want to go any further, well, you can either walk back the other 3.5 miles and it's going to take you an hour, or you can just keep running and get home sooner, and then that's your new accomplishment for that day. And that's what I did. And eventually it went from 5 to 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9. And it's a slow process. This was over months, and months and months of doing that over and over and over again, going, all right, well, last time I ran out east, I made it all the way to the fire station. Now I got to go a little bit past the fire station, and next thing you know, I was running from my house all the way to Gerb's on the roundabout heading out of town, which was 9 miles, I found out. But what I also didn't think of in the moment was, I got to run 9 miles back.
I got to get back home.
Man, but say I was on a treadmill and I did 9 miles, I would have just hit stop and been super happy with myself. But being out on the road, it was middle of the night, so it was like midnight. And I was turning around, having to head back 9 more miles, and I didn't have that option, which was what I needed at the time. I didn't need that, hey, Mom, can you come pick me up? I'm kind of, I didn't have that option at the time. I didn't have a vehicle. I didn't have a license. So I would just go out my front door and, all right, I'll see you guys when I see
doing
ya.
the hard things.
Yeah. But again, those are my stories. They don't have to be your stories, but again, you can use those as a metaphor in your life and whatever you're trying to get better at, So,
I do want to congratulate the 10Kers, all the 5Kers. Nothing wrong with the 5Ks. That's me.
That's me.
That's my people's.
That's me.
But the a lot of people that ran a 10K, I was like, I didn't expect them to run 10Ks. And 10K equals to how many miles?
6.2.
6. So we got 3.1 miles for the 5Kers, 6.2 for the 10Kers. And then the half marathon, guys, hands down.
13.1 miles. And those guys somehow, they are getting faster every year. And I'm not making the course any easier at all. Like, the course has stayed the same, minus a few adjustments.
It's them pushing themselves again, though, like...
Well, and again, it's, you can take that metaphor and apply it to me year 1 of race planning versus year 2 of race planning versus year 3. That works for actual people running the race too. They know, this is their 3rd year running this same route. So when when you take a left, when you take a right, and it's not I don't know which way am I going. So again, one less thing you have to worry about is getting lost or taking a wrong turn. So that allows them to focus more on their pace, their stride, their time. But yeah, those guys are unbelievable. There's props to those guys, because I could never, even on my best day, I'm never running what those guys are running, unless I have a jetpack
And
on.
shout out to all the walkers too. Thank you guys for the support. You don't have to come and run. It's just a community getting together to be insane for one morning.
Speaking about that, and we can kind of end on this one if we want. The last 2 finishers of the entire race was a half marathon couple. I don't think they were married, but they were doing the whole thing together. And they finished, and we kind of got a note that hey, last two are coming across the bridge, so we know we're wrapping up pretty quick. So it was really neat, because we were starting to tear some stuff down and do some cleanup. But once I saw their head kind of poke up over the Capitol there, coming in for that last home stretch, I got everybody fired up on the microphone. Like, anybody that's cleaning stuff up, like, put it down, let's get to the finish line. We got our last two finishers. And they were, I'm pretty sure they were from Texas. And the neat thing about them was I got to meet them at Packet Pickup on Friday. And what they do is they find a half marathon or a marathon or anything along those lines in all the state capitals. And I think they were like 23.
Wow.
So how cool is that, you know? So I'm just happy that we can provide a bucket list thing that they can check off. You know?
And you knew these people were going to show up, didn't you?
No idea.
Yeah.
They didn't call me ahead of time.
You planned this exactly for that type of people.
From Texas to walk your half marathon. But no, so I mean, again, in my opinion, walking a half marathon or walking a marathon, like, that sounds to me 1,000 times harder than running. Because I tell people a lot that it's not the physical aspect of running that really breaks you down. I mean, it may, but it's not going to be it's up here. It's your brain saying, hey, this is too hard. We need to be comfortable. We need to be comfortable. We can't get outside of our comfort zone because we don't like it. But
I've never thought about walking a half marathon. Like, I always thought you have to run it.
Well, some people do, some people
don't.
There
you go.
But again, that's your own story.
Yeah.
It's not me against Gerardo. It's not Gerardo against me. It's me against me, and it's Gerardo against himself. Because, like I said, with running, your brain is the thing that's going to talk you out of this thing the easiest, the fastest. As soon as you get 3 steps in, 4 steps in, it's going to be like, hey, man, that bed was feeling really nice this morning. So
yeah, we had to wake our kids up at 6 a.m. to be here by 6:30.
Yeah.
No, wait, to be here by 6:45. No, we were here by 6:30.
Yeah.
So we got to wake up at 5:30 to be here by 6:30 to be there at 7 a.m. for the takeoff.
Right. But the other good thing about that is we get in at 7. You know, most of the people are done pretty early, and you got the rest of your day.
Yeah.
To do, you got all. Hey, the hardest thing you're going to do today is already over.
At 7:33, I was like,
rest of your
33 minutes.
day is going to be smooth.
Yeah.
And easy sailing, which was great because it's Mother's Day weekend that we have that race. So, you know, I got a couple of my clients that's all they want for Mother's Day is we're all going to do this as a family. You know, we got to get up early, but when we're done, we're going to go get breakfast. We're going to have a great day, and that's what they do every year.
That's a better day than yesterday if you start out that way.
Right. So,
but this was definitely a podcast to thank the entire community. Fleet Feet, all of our
sponsors.
Shirts were. I love the shirts. How simple they were.
Yeah.
The logo, your entire advertising marketing team, everybody that put it together.
Big shout out for the T-shirt design. A big shout out goes out to Maggie Bestian. She's like I said, we had some hiccups this year in the planning process. We lost a really key person that, you know, one of those people you don't realize how much she did until she was gone. So we ran into that this year with somebody getting a new job that just didn't have the availability that we've had in the years past. So I was finding myself having to do computer stuff, which is not my area of expertise. So Maggie stepped up in a huge way, and all the compliments I've gotten about the medals being awesome, the shirts being awesome. And those are the two things that I really pride myself on every year, year in and year out, is we're always going to have an awesome shirt, always going to have an awesome medal, because if you have an awesome shirt, people are going to wear it more often. So again, free advertising because they like the quality of the shirt. So simple things like that can help get your product out there a little bit smoother too. So
it's a quality race.
Everything was great this year, and so thank you to all of our sponsors. Missouri Behavioral Health Council was our top sponsor. J.C. Parks, they're a huge help. Aaron Griffrath, shout out. Big help throughout the planning process. They host all of our meeting spaces, provide us with tables, trash cans, vehicles, stage rentals, all that stuff. So J.C. Parks does awesome. Fleet Feet did an amazing job this year.
That was very awesome.
This was our first year we had them host Packet Pickup, so I think we'll be continuing that moving forward. So it was just a different change of scenery for the Packet Pickup, but Fleet Feet stepped up huge this year, and they provide us with a lot. And then all the other sponsors as well, Brightspeed. We had High Rise Bakery, the Grand Cafe, 232, Strikers Bowling Alley, and there's so many more I'm missing. I apologize, but every single one of them, guys, without your guys' continued support, and that's the other thing I want to say too. These aren't just one and done sponsorships. A lot of the sponsors I have are repeat sponsors each and every year because they believe in what we're doing. They believe in the message we're trying to push, and I think people are starting to see it in real time. So that's those are my thank yous for this week's podcast.
And you were gonna say too the proceeds are gonna stay
yes,
local.
Yes. So just a quick recap on the proceeds. So every year we do $5,000 for Jared's kids, George and Ellen, for their education fund, and then the other half, the other $5,000 we raise goes to the Cole County Treatment Court program here in town, which deals with drug court, veterans court, DWI court, and then co-occurring court. I'm a previous graduate of the DWI court program, so it's very near and dear to my heart, and it's a big reason why I'm here today, being able to do this with you guys. We have the money going to those two entities, and we are going to diversify a little bit moving forward, and we're basically going to be working with all of our local first responders, JCPD, JC Fire Department, Cole County Sheriffs, EMS, all areas under that umbrella, to help them with their, anything PTSD, mental health, substance abuse related, if they have any issues, due to trauma from the line of duty and the line of work. I couldn't imagine having to do with the job that they do day in and day out, and then when they're off work, go back home and play dad and husband, and they see stuff that people shouldn't see on a regular basis. So just the fact that they have to go through, not that they have to, but they choose to go through that and still can maintain a healthy, normal life, they get all the respect that I have, and that's not just, that's with veterans, in the military as well. So we've diversed a little bit, and we're going to be helping out with them within the education and training and all that. So had a good meeting with Officer Hitt last week, and she's going to do a little bit of work on her end. I've done a little bit of work. I had to meet with my accountant to kind of see how we do all that stuff too. But it sounds like we've got another great partnership working with them. And I was invited to potentially be on their board as well, because she said, because I kind of gave her my story of where I started, where we're at, and everything in between.
That's so cool.
So she said, well, after hearing your story, she says, one thing that we're lacking on our board is someone that's got lived experiences. We've had some people, but they don't stick around, just because it's one of those things that some people relapse or go back out or whatever the issue is. So I think we're going to try and explore that avenue as well. So I might be on a new board, hopefully helping out with this area a little bit further. So
you've built it, and now it's all coming.
I hope so. So we have that meeting in July, so we'll update you once that gets here. But in the meantime, everything, back to normal stress levels on my life.
Yeah, he's back.
How about you guys? You guys got weather change? You guys
preparing for summer. Real estate market is, we're back to lower inventory again.
Yeah.
The market has not stopped. My mental health is standard. We're normal again. Our team is growing, so I'm having fun. Again, just wanting to be better than yesterday.
Yeah.
Helping all of my team, the people that I get to do life with, be better than yesterday. Heather Dodd, making connections here in our office. She's expanding in our office, so we've seen her go from day one, show up with just her laptop, to families coming in and out. So very proud of Heather and growing the business and just keeping that circle around us. And if there's anything everybody, whoever's watching, you're not alone. None of us are perfect. That's why we're still here.
Yep.
Where you have help, reach out to Matt. There's centers to help. There's so many resources to be able to help out. So just don't be afraid to reach out to a certain person, anybody you trust. I'm sure they could guide you in the right direction. There's enough people that we all are connected with, and just reach out to us.
Absolutely.
We know how to help.
If we don't know how to help you personally, we know people that can. Mm-hmm. So you're not alone. You're not different than anybody else. We've all got issues, and we're here to help work through those. And
congratulations on a successful Capital City run.
Congratulations on a
race walk.
Successful 5K stroll.
Oh, yeah, we're getting better every year. She's getting heavier every year.
Did you PR this year?
I finished. You know what? The quote, I did have a Goggins quote in my head, where your world ends, mine begins.
Yep.
So I saw people that last hill, and I was like, what's left in the tank? We just sprinted up that hill. The firemen were cheering like, go dad, go dad. And it was just like, whew, I didn't even see Matt because I just flashed through him. But it was such a beautiful day, it's a beautiful event.
Yeah.
And one of the things we look forward to as a family. So thank you very much for
I appreciate it. My
and
pleasure.
Congratulations on a successful race.
Third time's the charm.
Yeah, it's tradition now, so we'll set you guys up for that. But this podcast ain't stopping. Me and Matt still have things to talk about.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll be trying to do it weekly as
We'll
much
see
as we
you guys next week for this episode wrapped of the Not So Perfect podcast.
Thank you for watching. Here's our not so perfect exit.
Yeah, there
Peace
you go.
out.
Later, guys.